Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lokesh. So today we'll be discussing about Azure Data Factory because we'll be using this tool when we are doing the live practical of what we discussed in one of the previous videos. That is our main job, our main objective here is to get the data from files that are in some repository to the Azure Data Warehouse. And as I mentioned in the previous videos in one of the previous videos that the data in my project resides in Amazon Cloud S3, and since we don't have personal permission or personal account on Amazon S3, so what I'll do is I'll try to use the desktop or my local system as the source for the files, and we'll use those files and we'll try to fetch the data from the files into Azure SQL Data Warehouse. And how we are going to do that, it's going to be interesting. We'll be referring or using a term or a process called polybase, which is basically the fastest method to get the data from one source to the another with the help of Azure services. And why it is faster, it's because of various other reasons, technical reasons, and let's not discuss those reasons because that's out of the scope. And so this is how it will look like. And once the data has landed into the Azure Data Warehouse, we will try to query and we'll try to find out whether the count in the source files are equal to the count in the tables that are in Azure Data Warehouse. So this is how it looks like. So now that we have done the base work of what we want to do, let's explore this tool and try to see what is this, and so that you get a little idea before you start looking or working on this tool. So Azure Data Factory is a cloud service which is supplied by Microsoft Azure uh, pack, and it's similar to the ETL tools that you might have used or that you might have worked. And when I compare this with SSIS, SSIS is the tool, ETL tool, which I've used. Most of the terms that you have in Azure Data Factory are similar to ones that you get in SSIS. For example, pipeline here means control flow in SSIS. Data flow here is exactly the same as you have data flow inside your SSIS. So let's explore this. So we'll first of all try to understand what the pipeline is. Pipeline is at the highest level of hierarchy when we talk about the building blocks of Azure Data Factory. It can have logical activities. So what it does is it manages what activities will work and how the precedence of the activities or how the activities will run. So it can be, so by activity we mean a particular job that Azure Data Factory performs. For example, a copy data activity is an activity which is used to get the data from one source to the another, or one source which is source in the sense that is from the where the data originates to the destination. So pipeline houses all these activities. It is a collection of activities. Now if you want to run activities one by one, you can do that. If you want to run activities in parallel, you can also do that. So it's entirely up to you. And when we talk about activities, as I explained, activities is a job that you will be performing with the help of Azure Data Factory. I took an example of copy data. There can be n number of other activities in Azure Data Factory. Now let's discuss integration runtime. Integration and runtime is nothing but your compute infrastructure. So if it has it had three types. One is self-hosted integration runtime. The other one is the Azure Integration Runtime, and the acronym for Integration Runtime is IR, and the third one is SSIS IR, Azure SSIS IR. So let's first talk about the self-hosted IR. So if we want to fetch the data from the on-premise servers or the systems. For example, the ones that we'll be using in the next video while doing our practical, we will have to use a self-hosted IR. IR is basically helpful in maintaining or starting a handshaking between your Azure data services as well as the on-premise systems, because if the handshake happens, only then the data movement can take place. And so as I said, so self-hosted IR is specifically to support the on-premise databases or the services. And then you have Azure IR, which is basically for the cloud services. So as I talked about my previous project, in which we will want to get the data from Amazon S3. So in that scenario, you will have to use Azure IR. You cannot rely self-hosted IR, because self-hosted IR is only used to communicate between the on-premise servers. And so that's where you will use Azure IR. Then the third one is SSIS IR, which is basically nothing but if you want to lift and shift your SSIS packages, if you want to run the SSIS packages with the help of Azure Data Factory, then you can refer to those. You can use that SSIR. Now let's discuss what linked service is. So once you have established the handshaking between different entities with different systems, it's up to the link service to tell us what how to authenticate a particular source and what credentials to use. So in simple terms, in coding language, in various coding language, this can be termed as a connection string, where you will have to specify which database you want to refer. For example, if you want to connect to the database, or where the repository is, and what are the credentials that can be used to connect to that repository. And once you have established integration runtime as well as linked service, there is a concept of dataset, which will be more clearer when we do the practical. Basically, in shorter terms, once you have done everything, you need to specify a group of tables or a group of files that you will use in your Azure Data Factory, and that is where the concept of dataset comes in. And as I said, I will be using this in the upcoming practical. So yeah, you have to get familiar with these terms if you want to use the Azure Data Factory. And as I mentioned in the beginning as well, if you have worked with ETL tool, I think using Azure Data Factory will not be a rocket science for you. Even if you haven't worked on in any of the ETL tools, then also the transition which will be smoother, because most of the services, the terms and the technologies in this particular tool are self-explanatory. And you can just you need minimal coding language. You can just drag and drop the various entity activities or various things that Azure Data Factory provides, so that you can build a particular project. So this is it, guys. I hope the video is helpful. So we'll do the practical of fetching the data from some of the source files and putting that data into the Azure SQL data warehouse tables. Bye guys, and stay safe.